I'm Mandy Harbin, and I'm 35. I'll be 36 next month. I have 3 kids. 2 of them are here now. And I've been married to my husband for 4 years, and I am located in Alabama. I am from Georgia. I've lived here about 5 years. So my husband brought me here, and it's a very, very small town. I work full time as a senior product owner for a medical software company. And then part time, I do online training.
Gotcha. So, being in a small town, does that almost make it feel like there's like a focus to what you do more, a little bit less distractions maybe than a big, big city?
I think I would like it better if there were more people like me here. There are not any other bodybuilders really. We have a bikini competitor, we have one figure competitor. They're at the amateur level still. So it's hard for people to relate to me, but everybody knows me as the bodybuilder of Troy, Alabama. It's funny, I don't really go out like to Walmart or anywhere because the questions that people ask, it's not that they get on my nerves, but it's just constant. And if I do go somewhere, I make sure I'm covered up.
Right. So how did you, going back in time, how did you actually get into this, this sport?
So I knew nothing about bodybuilding prior to April 2018. Didn't even know the word of bodybuilder. I didn't know anything. And so I met my husband. I moved here. He had a friend come over, and when he came in, he had competed in the past, and he came in and he said, we had a pool and I was in a bikini. He said, "Have you ever thought about bodybuilding?" And I was like, "I don't even know what that is." And so he told me a little bit about it. And he was like, "You basically have a swimmer's body, and the swimmer's body you can do anything with." He was like, "You can make it do whatever you want to do." And I was like, I didn't know what that meant, but I started researching it a little bit. And like I said, that was in April 2018. I got married that June. So I went on an all-inclusive like honeymoon with food and drinks and all. I was in prep for my first show, and I prepped for about 8 weeks and did my first show in July of 2018.
For you, it seems like it just came out of nowhere. And, how long did it take for you to kind of hear about what it was and then be like, probably maybe learned a little bit more about it, but then think, okay, this is maybe something that I would actually potentially want to do?
Yeah, after I started looking into it, he told me about someone. Her name's Tiffany Chandler. She's a fitness pro. I actually think she's been to the Olympia stage as well. But he was like, reach out to her because she went to school here in Troy. She lived in Auburn, which was like a couple hours away. And he was like, just see, what you can learn from her. So I did. She did me a meal plan. And then I just started training with my husband because he was already going to the gym, and he showed me what to do. And then I got so like addicted to it and loved it so much. I was training like twice a day, like just absolutely fell in love with the sport, or not even the sport. I just fell in love with the training part of it. And so then once I kind of started learning things on my own, I just kept going and pushing, and decided I think I want to do a prep, So I did.
Did you have any in the past? Did you have any experience in the gym or, in sports where the, strength conditioning was involved or anything like that? Prior experience?
Not really. I mean, I was a competitive cheerleader growing up, like all through middle school, high school. But as far as the gym, like after I had kids, I would do like these circuit training type things, but I never did weights. That was the first time I'd ever lifted weights. I remember my husband saying, like, it's something about you put on muscle really fast. And now that I've been doing it longer, I really don't put on muscle very fast. My body just changed really fast. Right. It just got lean.
Yeah.
And showed what little bit of muscle I did have under there.
Yeah. How long did it take for you to kind of your body to stop with the rapid change? And then was there a period of like, is this actually, is my body going to keep responding, or is it kind of like, did you ever have any doubts whether, the training that you were doing was actually paying off?
Yeah. My shoulders have always been a really weak point for me. And I would see these girls, especially with figure, just have these huge, like, they pose and they just have these huge shoulder caps, and still even they aren't as big as a lot of the girls I compete with. And I don't know if that has to do with me having such long limbs or what, but I figured out that even, my husband showed me things. He never really worked shoulders, so he didn't know a whole lot about shoulders. But then even going with Autumn, I was never training shoulders correctly until I started with Luke in October. And since just October, what's that been, like 8, 9, 10 months?
Yeah.
The difference in my shoulders have it just changed dramatically. But there was a point I was like, my shoulders are never going to grow. And same thing with my quads. But it was because I wasn't training them right.
Take me through a little bit about what that first prep was like, and then what about what that first competition was like for you?
First, I looked like crap my first competition. Definitely amateur, and not the amateurs you see these days. Like it, some of them look like pros already. I didn't prep long enough. Like I said, it was like an 8-week prep. I went on a honeymoon during that. I got married during that. And, I followed my diet outside of that honeymoon period. But the show, there was something about it. I was hooked. I was not giving up. I was going to look better. I was going to beat that. I did great. I mean, I did good. I got first in my height for figure, and I did bikini at that time as well. I did both. And bikini, I think I got second in my height. So I didn't do bad. It was a small show. There was only 3 girls in figure and like 6 in bikini. But I knew, I was like, this is not what you're supposed to look like. So I went on to do another one that November. And I knew I needed to make a choice between bikini and figure. And so it was basically that November show was, let's see what you place best in. And that's what you're going with. And I got first in figure and third in bikini. So I decided, let's build, let's grow, and let's get into figure.
And stepping on stage, was there any kind of emotion because you're getting up there with people watching you, with judges judging you, and with other people beside you who you're getting compared to? Like, was there anything that was kind of triggered, like any, nervousness or anxiety or anything like that, just having really put yourself on display like that?
Honestly, I don't get nervous at all on show day. I get excited. I guess anxious is a word, but it's more of like an excitement, anxious, and I am just ready to step on stage and show off what I've done. Like that is really my main focus, is just get up there. I'm not competing against these girls. We're competing together. Whoever the judges like is who will win that day. It doesn't matter how good you look. It's up to the judges. So you just got to bring your best and step out there and show it off,
Yeah. And, after that first show, was there any term of any, time length of celebration, or was it kind of like, all right, let's, keep putting the work in?
Yeah, we did. We went to dinner, and I think we even did some, like, when I prepped that first year of competing, I didn't realize, like, I didn't have a pro mindset. That's completely changed. But like we would still go out to dinner and I would choose healthy options, and now that's completely different. Like, I don't know the last time I've stepped in a restaurant, because I'm a pro and I've been in prep since January 1st. And I don't know what they're cooking their stuff in, and my mindset has completely changed. So yeah, I definitely celebrated. I probably even still drank alcohol my first year of prep.
And you kind of mentioned the pro mindset there, but what do you think are some of the main differences between the non-pros and the pro bodybuilders?
I think mindset is a lot, and I say that because I've been through it. Like I don't think I cared as much as an amateur as I do as a pro. And I think that you're, like, even when I'm in the gym, when I'm training thinking I will not be outworked. There's not going to be anybody working harder than me. And like, I definitely didn't have that mindset coming into it when I first started.
Yeah. I think it's such a cool and weird sport in a way, because from the outside looking in, it's like such an all physical thing. But, once you're involved in it, and even just talking to people, it becomes clear that it's almost all actually a mental sport, because physically anyone can do it. Your limbs can move the weights, and they can, pick up the food and put it in your mouth, but it's a matter of like having the discipline, the determination, the drive to actually get it done.
A lot of people will ask, how do you mentally and physically get through it when you've been in prep this long? Because I don't know if you know my background for this year, but I've done 3 shows already this year, and been in prep since January 1st. And I have I'm 2.5 weeks out from the Atlanta Pro. And honestly, this has been the best prep I've ever had. I have felt amazing. There's probably been 4 to 5 times during this entire prep that I've had down days, which is completely normal, and actually probably not normal that it's been that little. A lot of people say, how can you physically and mentally just keep doing this? And physically in the gym, that's all your mindset. Like if I go into the gym thinking I'm not going to be able to hit this weight today, well, then I'm probably not going to hit the weight. But when I go in there saying you're going to beat your logbook, you're going to meet your logbook or beat your logbook, I always do. So it's all mine. And I tell my clients that as well. They're like, today I fell off the wagon. Well, you did that. You could have made better choices.
We're too accepting of like mediocrity a lot of times within our own life. It's like, and then calling that, because we do say, okay, we're going to take the day off, or okay, we're not going to go as hard. A lot of times we call that self-love and self-care, instead of being, having the mindset of like, what is it really self-care to not go after your goals? I think that's something that we get to, we're a little bit too soft in that regards, I think.
That is another thing is I want to be better every day. So every day is a day to get better. So if I skip it, then I didn't get better, And so same thing with my cardio. I have cardio every single morning and have for the past however many weeks it's been, 27 weeks or whatever. And every morning on the stairs, if I burned on my watch, I know they're not super accurate, but it helps like push me. If I burned 319 calories yesterday, today I'm going to burn more than 319 calories. Like, and every day it's more and more and more. And then eventually I'm at 400, and then I'm, so I always want to be better than I was the day before. So last year, the entire year last year, I had planned to take off, but then I was in like a little bit of a prep for a guest posing, which was for the first show that I did ever. And so they asked me to come do guest posing last summer. And so I had been in prep for about 4 weeks, and not prep, but it was less food, added some cardio, just a little bit of a deficit. And my body was responding really well. And so I told Autumn, I was like, hey, I think I'm just going to do the Chicago Pro, which was in Atlanta, in 4 weeks. And she was like, okay. She was like, that's fine. And it wasn't to go and even place like top 10 or anything like that. I just wanted to experience my first pro show, because I had just become a pro the year prior in 2020 in November. And so she was like, that's cool. So I did basically like a 7-week prep for the Chicago Pro. I did get third call outs out of 4. And I think I got 16th place if you look at the lineup, but after 16th, they don't really put you in a spot. So out of 32 women, which was still good, I beat half of them. So, so then in August, I knew that it was time for me to interview, trying to figure out the way to say this, more coaches, because I had more potential. I needed somebody who would get me farther. And so I reached out to about 5 different male, and I wanted a male coaches, sent them some interview questions, and Luke by far exceeded my expectations with his response. Immediately jumped on a Zoom call, walked me through his entire process. So that was in October. And so then I said, I had been with him for a couple of months. We got food up really high, the highest I'd ever eaten. I still wasn't really gaining any weight or fat. I started prep at 12% body fat. So even though we were at like 400 carbs a day, I wasn't really putting fat on. So everything about his training was different. So then I was like, in December, I was like, I think I want to do the Pittsburgh Pro, because I had done Pittsburgh, the Nationals, can't remember the name of it, North Americans, and missed my pro card by one the year prior. And I loved Pittsburgh. Me and my husband just loved Pittsburgh, and I wanted to go back there. So he was like, I really wanted to keep you in an off season a little longer. He was like, but let's do it. He was like, we're starting prep January 1st.
So kind of going back a little bit, what you said about wanting a male coach, what was kind of the motivation behind that?
I think a female would be okay, but I didn't want a female that I'm also going to be competing with, because you just
Gotcha.
never know, you know. I mean, not, I love all of them. Not that I don't trust them, but they can manipulate something and put you in a place, you know, and I won't be competing with a male.
Right.
And I also wanted a coach who knew about female hormones, and that is Luke's specialty. So he sold me, like, he won.
So going into kind of like the different pro shows that you have done so far, what have you kind of learned from each one, and how has that helped you kind of get, you know, to the place where you want to be?
They're so amazing. Like, the friendships that I have gotten, the women, the experience backstage, everything is so amazing. So my first one this year was the Pittsburgh Pro, and I placed 10th out of that one, out of 27. I think the best thing for me is not to set expectations too high. And I know you should always say, like, I'm going to manifest winning this. I don't really believe in manifesting. I'm a Southern Baptist, and I believe in God, and God will do what he wants to do. But I hear it all the time. I'm going to manifest this. And I just think that's BS. But for me, my goal going into Pittsburgh was to get top 10, and I got 10th. And so I was like, okay, I wasn't really like ninth or better would have been good, but I was okay with it. I was a little upset, but I guess what I learned from that is after I did it, I realized posing is completely different than what I was doing. Even though I had practiced and practiced and practiced, like, I need to take my time. We have so much time on the stage. We're pros. They want to see the whole package. So show it off and take your time. So I think that's mostly what I learned that first show. And then so basically me and Luke decided, if I get top 10, we're going to do New York Pro in 2 weeks. So New York Pro is like an iffy on my list. And because if I didn't get top 10, I wasn't going to do it. I was going to wait. But I did. And so I was like, here we go. And I ended up getting 7th at the New York Pro. So I was happy, because my goal this year for 22 was to see where I lined up with the pros, because it's really my first year competing as a pro. That I don't count last year, that one, because I didn't really prep for it. But so this year was like, let's just see where I line up with the girls. And so I basically, both shows got top 10. So I know I'm in the top 10 status of the pros. And then for next year, my goal is to get top 5. And then the next year, my goal is to get Olympia qualification.
Gotcha,
So that
gotcha.
I set short-term goals.
Before you became a pro, let's go back that far. Like, how do you think it's changed and developed over the time, and how do you think it's kind of what direction do you think it's actually moving in?
So when I was watching last year, I kept thinking, for figure, they're rewarding physique shapes. They're bigger and they're leaner, and like, they're bigger, like way bigger. And this year, being there in person, I thought it was pretty much the way that it should have been. At least the 2 shows that I saw. And then I watched, Puerto Rico Pro, and Samantha Jeering won that. Like, I think she is like goals. She's beautiful. She's got great muscle, but you can tell that they're rewarding a little bit bigger than what the figure criteria actually says, like on the website.
Do you think that there's a rhyme and reason for what they sometimes look for, and do you think that kind of like pushes the judges from other shows to like look for other things? Like, do you think there's any, I guess, agenda to why they're looking for certain things at certain times?
I don't know. And I know every judge is different. So like, I know Tyler was the judge in Pittsburgh, And Tyler told me I needed bigger delts and more quad sweep. And I completely agree. And in New York, it was I need more back depth. So it's really hard because every judge is so different. So like I know some judges like what I currently have, very hard lean. I'm very, very lean. I'm not the biggest, but I am very lean, very conditioned. And some judges like the really conditioned look, and then some like the more, soft look. So it's just really hard to know what to bring. I did just see that for the Atlanta Pro, Bill is the head judge, and he does like very conditioned. So we'll see.
And do you think that this sport will ever get away from a human judge and go to some type of technological judge where it is like, there are certain standards and those are the things that will be consistent throughout?
I don't know. I really wish there was more of a consistency with the judges, because you can just go look, at all the pro shows and just put the winners next to each other. Like we'll just take Sydney and Jessica. Sydney and Jessica are totally different looks, and they're both like top in figure right now, but they're completely different looks. So it's hard to know as a competitor, what am I supposed to be working on?
Right. Yeah. It's almost like playing a game and starting a game without knowing the rules of it. You kind of know the basic concept, but not exactly the rules.
Yeah.
We often talk about on this podcast, the good side, the good aspects of bodybuilding, but especially in the female side of the sport, what do you think are some things that could be improved upon?
I do think that some women are ruining their health. You can hear it in their voices. So if you know what I mean. And I think that's really sad, especially these that now, like I said, I'm 35. I've had my kids. I'm done having kids. But there's, 20, 25-year-old girls, women that are doing a lot of things that are hurting them, and they'll never be able to have a family if they continue on doing it. And I think it's really sad because there's not a whole lot of money to win. It's not like you're making buku of money doing bodybuilding. So don't ruin your body. And if kids is something that you want in your future, don't just be really careful with what you're taking. I mean, and if you have a coach, you should trust your coach, but also make sure they know what they're talking about.
It's become more monetizable, and it still seems kind of like the bodybuilder, the one who's doing all the work and buying all the stuff, is kind of still left out to dry when it comes to, how they can truly make money within the sport itself, not counting sponsorships and things.
Yeah, I agree. I've been trying to figure out that for a while.
What advice would you have for women, for young, not young girls, but young women getting into this sport who want to be successful? What would some advice be for that population?
First is don't do it alone. Hire a coach. You need somebody to guide you, so you're not questioning everything. Just let them do the work. You just follow. That will make the process so much easier. I think that's probably the most important thing. Second, I guess, would be make sure you find a good group of supporters. I'll tell you, I have a very small amount of people who support me. And I actually just met this girl named Ashley through Instagram, who lives an hour and a half from me. And she came to my house this weekend and spent the night, and we trained the entire weekend. We ate our bodybuilding food. She's 10 weeks out. She's trying to get her pro card, and had the best time. And so I finally feel like I have somebody that gets what I'm doing and supports me, even though, she's an hour and a half away. I can text her, and I just don't have anybody that pushes me. So I have to push myself. So make sure you have a good circle.
Yeah, I think that's it's really important, and no matter what you're trying to achieve in life, the people you surround yourself with really do make the world of difference. And it's powerful, really, what on either side what people can do, whether it's in a good way or in a bad way. But yeah, I really think that's really good advice, and I really appreciate you coming on here tonight.
Thank you for having me. It was great.